reality is that doesn't really happen.
Homeowner wants warm home and cozy home.
I think it's so critical.
I'm not doing mistakes.
$1 million question.
Welcome to the UK series. Hello and welcome to our UK series podcast. My name is Mario Dodic. I am the heat pump trainer and founder of HVAC Education Hub, where we talk about heat pumps. Today, my guest in London is James Major. James has a strong background in electrical engineering, heating side, and he's covering everything related to residential projects. Hello, James. Nice to have you here.
Hey, Mario. Nice to see you. Thanks for inviting me up.
Yeah, it's good to be in London and to see the city and what you are doing here, because I'm not from here, from Croatia. Can you explain a little bit more about your company, what you are doing, and what is your daily job?
Yeah, absolutely. So my company is Hub Innovations, and Hub Innovations is split into two products or two services. So the first one is MyHubb, and at MyHubb we cover residential MEP engineering, so design, and that is for homeowners who are building a one-off family home or a renovation project. So typically we work alongside architects and the homeowners, and we develop a complete design, and that's everything from heating, ventilation, air conditioning, through to domestics, so hot and cold water, above ground drainage, low voltage systems, extra low voltage, and any form of renewable as well, so thinking about batteries and PV systems.
So how hard is to connect all of this together, especially if we know that we have different kind of installers, different kind of engineers, from architects, electrical engineers, heating side, heat pump, battery. How hard is to connect all of this in one piece, because we are working on solutions. This is the main job.
Yeah, it's a great question, isn't it? And it's one that we get asked quite a lot, and I think there's several parts to this that are worth unpacking and looking at. And for me, it's if you take a step back, and there's three main stakeholders or three main actors. There's the homeowner, there's the architect and the professional team, and there's the tendering subcontractors, so the installers and then the eventual contractor that wins the job. Now, each three of those essentially need different information. That doesn't stop you from doing the design correctly, the way that it should be designed in accordance with regulations. But the information that you produce needs to be contextualized for each of those three actors. So the homeowner really is looking for clarity over what they're getting, because they want to understand what am I getting? Is it underfloor heating? Is it radiators? What's the lighting? All of those kind of things. And they want to understand how much it's going to cost. How much is it going to cost me to have all of this? Or a heat pump system versus a gas boiler. And they want to understand how much it's going to cost to run as well, so the operational cost of that system. So that's the first main actor, stakeholder we need to look after. The second is the architectural and the professional team. So essentially thereafter, is your design compliant, and does it coordinate with the rest of the services in the build? And the third is the tendering subcontractor, where really they want clarity over the information they're receiving, which also benefits the rest of the professional team and the homeowner, as being able to provide that information clearly and succinctly for the tendering subcontractors. They can accurately price quickly the design rather than chasing through pages of specifications. So again, that contextualization of information for the subcontractors is absolutely key to everyone in the chain.
Just a quick reminder. New online educational heat pump platform is available. It is interactive, mobile friendly, and ready to use from your PC, tablet or mobile phone. You can find a lot of videos, assessments and interactive elements. Link is in a description below. Yes, and you mentioned we have a MEP like mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and we have what you mentioned about the cost. Homeowner needs, what I want also to highlight every time, homeowner wants warm home and cozy home.
Absolutely.
This is what they want. They don't take care if this is heat pump or PV or battery, but for us is to offer them the best possible solution, because two houses are never the same. So each house is separate, and I think, as you highlighted, that this specification is important. I want to ask you how you ensure that this specification is more or less correct, because you cannot be 100%, but to have just, let's say, cost which for homeowner and for subcontractors and for everyone in the chain, so they could know what they can rely on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's one way that we approach this. The first thing is it's really important to ask good questions. So, asking good question, professional team and the homeowner to really drill down on what they want. So anything we're putting in the design or the specification is in line with everyone else in terms of where they think the project is going. And for us, we have something that we call in the 5 C's that we work towards, and the first is making sure from a capacity, so optimization of capacity. So thinking, whether it's PV, battery heating system, how can we optimize the capacity of each one of those systems? The second one that we look at is cost, so capital cost and operating costs of the building to run the system. The third is compliance, so making sure that everything that we design and put in the specification is compliant. The fourth that we look at is homeowner comfort. So comfort, as you said, is really important as well. Are we making sure that we fully understand the unique needs of each one of our customers and what they want from their home? And great example of that is air conditioning. Some people love it and some people just don't want it and want you to look at every passive measure possible to make sure that they don't need air conditioning in their home. And then the fifth, which is equally as important as the other four as well, is carbon. So operationally, what are the carbon emissions of the home and how can we help reduce that through different forms of technology? So whether it's the PV system, the battery, that shift away from gas to heat pumps. And I think that for us is our starting point around making sure we get the design and the specification right, is asking good questions and then carrying that 5 C's methodology across all the design and everything that we do in the process.
And it's very interesting for me, you mentioned a few times PV batteries. You have electrical background, I have a mechanical engineering background, but today it looks like also the role of the designer and of the installer is changed, because we now need to understand complete solution, especially from this IT software point of view, because heat pump itself is only part of the system, PV is only part of the system. So we need to be updated, especially with AI and all of these things. From your experience, how this design is also changed in the last, 5 or 10 years, or even 2 years, where we have AI, how this is changing, how all people in the process are adapting these changes.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I think coordination between mechanical and electrical teams in the business is so critical. They cannot be siloed. And certainly going back to the earlier part of my career, mechanical and electrical was really siloed in the design, that you didn't really get the integration. And now, especially for homes, any building, it is absolutely critical that those teams are talking and working together collaboratively to produce the right design, so that solar, PV, battery systems are integrating with the other products from the mechanical side. And you can see that through some of the offerings that are available now, right? So thinking about the smart hot water cylinders, where you're using the PV diversion to divert excess electricity to heat up the hot water or to the heat pump. So there's lots of technology out there, and it's our job as design engineers to go away and understand what is that best possible mix for that specific customer, as well as giving them the right options, in terms of what's available and what it is that they want to achieve with their home. And a lot of that can come down to factors like roof area. How much PV can you put in your roof? Is it in a conservation area? If it is, we might have problems with PV on certain roof orientations as well. So it's that holistic thought of the whole design process, as you said, making sure we get it all together, all singing, all working. And for us, a big part of that is we have someone that specialises in we call it like extra low voltage and control side of the business. So making sure that we've got coordination between the mechanical and the electrical systems, and someone there to act as that coordinator to make sure all the systems are working together. I think that the other point that's worth discussing as well or looking into is from our perspective, is understanding that it doesn't just stop at design. We need to be able to highlight in terms of the installation where the line in the sand is for each of those installers. There's no, it just falls apart if, someone's work finishes here, someone's hit, who joins the bit up in the middle? So having that matrix of responsibilities as well clearly outlined, so everyone knows where their line in the sand is and where they need to get to in order to make the project complete.
Yeah, but these lines are not so strict. And what you mentioned is really good, because I always highlighted the good design is nothing without good installation, and good installation is nothing without good commissioning. And this is nothing without good maintenance. You did a few posts about this maintenance and maintenance cost, which is we are talking a lot about residential, but in commercial, where you have higher investment and higher cost, this maintenance is even crucial. This is what I wanted to ask you, how you can see the role of the installer and service technicians, because they need to understand everything, especially service engineers. They need to understand design, installation, commissioning, maintenance, and everything related to that. So not only heating engineer needs to understand PV, electrical part, architectural part. How you can see the role of the let's say today engineer or today service engineer?
Look, the maintenance thing is huge, isn't it? I think it's so critical to the overall success of the project when you zoom out and you look at it over the life cycle of the equipment. So whether that's 15, 20 years is as you said, that LinkedIn post that I put out, albeit that was commercial, it's thinking from a maintenance first point of view. And I know you're a big advocate for this, but simplicity is key, isn't it? Is making sure that systems are designed with not just great performance, but also simplicity at front of mind as well.
It will be easier for everyone if you have simple system.
Exactly. Easier to design, easier to install, easier to commission, cheaper and easier to maintain, and cheaper as well. And that's one of the the main driving points of homeowners is everyone's got a budget they need to work to, right? And I think it's about educating homeowners as well that there's maintenance post installation and what that could look like if a system is over engineered, over designed. So sometimes keeping things simpler pays off in the long term.
And you mentioned education. This is also part, let's say, my mainly job about education. We have very complex systems. We have a lot of different kind of engineers and homeowners. Let's say my specialization is heating side, heating engineers. And how do you see, let's say, our platform? Like we are now creating some new educational content, because we need to also understand that I think in Europe 300,000 engineers are missing in the next years if we want to adopt technologies, and we need of course online tools and online education, but how to implement all of this, and how can you see that part of the business?
I mean, look, I think what you're doing at the Education Hub is fantastic, right? I think that that ability to keep it manufacturer agnostic and open for engineers in order to learn is brilliant, and we need to see more of that, whether it's online or in-person training as well. I think that the great thing that I've seen, mainly through a lot of the work that you've done and things that you've shared on socials, is that new engineers that are coming up through into the industry are really passionate and care about building great heating systems. And I think that's half the battle is having people that care and that want to do a great job. And I think that the more that we can help those people stay in the industry and want to grow in the industry by platforms like Education Hub, I think is only a great thing. It's only a good thing.
Yes, and what is also important for me, as you said, manufacturer agnostic. Even I worked in manufacturer, but I'm always putting manufacturer agnostic, and I can say heat source agnostic, because we are talking heat pumps a lot. But even with gas boilers, when you have millions of gas boilers with good design, good installation, even with gas boilers you can minimize your cost. You can have more comfortable home, and this is why we need to reverse the cycle. So we need to have system prepared for every heat source, and in that case doesn't matter what is the price of electricity, of the gas, or if we have PV and so on, because system is what will be in the building for the next 50 years, if you're talking about ventilation, underfloor.
Absolutely, and I think again, one thing that I've seen from you and everything that you're doing is the fact that you really dig in and go back to first principles and what, here are the first principles you need to apply, whether it's a gas, as you said, a gas boiler or an air source heat pump. And that ability to design a heating system that currently has a gas boiler as a heat source, but could eventually swap to an air source heat pump. We do see that regularly in our jobs where clients don't have the budget for an air source heat pump, even with the government funding that's in place. Perhaps it could be a particularly tricky building. For example, if it's a listed building, might need to keep the heat pump further away from the house so it's not on display. All of those things add up and cost. And, there's sometimes a more expensive option going for the heat pump over the gas boiler. So, with a lot of what you're doing, that's showing people that, look, we can create a really efficient heating system regardless of the heat source, but knowing full well that in 10, 15 years, 20 years time, that you can go and put a heat pump in place, I think is really important.
Yes, and what is also main driver for me, I'm not the smartest even in the heat pump, but I know that there are several key factors here. So we have manufacturer, we have distributor, we have design team, installers, someone is selling valves, someone is selling pumps, thousands of different components, and let's say your job is to connect everything and to know everything. You cannot know everything, but you need to know how to approach. This is why, let's say, we also did collaboration on some projects, how important it is to have different eyes on the project, because two guys are always smarter than the one, no matter how smart is that person. How you can see this part of a collaboration, and what I can see also on the field, there is lack of engineers, lack of installers. It's always better to work together. So few companies are working together. I assume you are also doing it with your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, there's a couple of things there that are really important. And the first was that you highlighted that, yeah, there's distributors, there's manufacturers. Everyone's really keen to sell you their product and as much of it as they possibly can. Some of it might not be needed, right? And it's our job as engineers to understand what's needed, what's not needed. Again, aiming for simplicity over just going with what the manufacturer says. And I think that one way of being able to improve that design is taking learnings from commercial world where we can for residential solutions, and looking at like peer-to-peer review. So getting someone to review our design, and that could be engineers internally in the business. It could be going out to someone like you, Mario, and reviewing our designs. What have we done? Where could it be improved? Where are the opportunities to make our system better, more efficient? I think that's really important. And I think the great thing is the industry as a whole, the people that are really engaged are out there doing it, actively collaborating. You can see on LinkedIn, people are doing that.
And it's not. I can see that it's not. Let's say we are competitors, and also you said peer reviewed, because we have a lot of different sources. Today, not everyone is related to videos, not everyone is related to books, but then we have, okay, I'm good in making some videos, someone is good in making books, you are good at putting all of this together, so every one of us is putting the best from our side, and in that way, homeowner, as homeowner is our employer, we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Homeowner can know what is the best, especially I can see that homeowners from IT background, today you have a lot of these guys deeply in our industry, because they understand how data works, and how to learn new things, because what we learned 20 years ago or 10 years ago is not relevant today.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think that a good example of that, thinking about people that are in the industry or engaged in what we're doing, and you said from tech backgrounds, I think that with gas boilers, they're fairly forgiving, aren't they? In terms of the design, the system design. Again, it's really important, isn't it? And something I've learned from you is it's not just about the heat sources, it's about the heating system. It's about making the heating system efficient and well designed, and
how to move water from point A to point B.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think that with heat pumps, there's newer tech in there which appeals to a lot of people, but also the design has to be that much better. They're less forgiving when you have a heat pump as the heat source, and I think that brings a lot of people, because it brings slightly different challenges on board compared to designing a gas-fired system from 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, because in gas boiler system you can have 70% efficiency if it's not so good, or 90%. If it's good in heat pump, you can have 200% or 500%.
Yeah,
it's huge gap, and you mentioned a few times simplicity, but I think you need to understand very good the system to know how to put this simplicity. What is your, let's say, your company, and what is the uniqueness of your company, what you can bring to the customer? Because we mentioned simplicity, collaboration, everything what you mentioned. Also, I want to ask, because customers today, they want one-stop shop, so they don't want to go to 10 different designers, they want everything on one place. How are you ensuring that you can offer that to your customer?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things there. So for us, we have specialist mechanical designers, electrical designers, and then extra low voltage and controls designers alongside project coordinators. One unique offering that we have is that ability, and just picking up on what you said there about boiler efficiency, 70 to 90%, heat pumps, sub 200% efficiency up to 500 plus in some ways, is we've helped some homeowners understand the difference between, especially with the cost of electricity, what happens if you have a heating system that's installed that has a seasonal coefficient of 200 versus what it would look like at 400, 450, and the cost associated with doing that. So running different scenarios for homeowners so they can see what's going to happen. And you have a big house, if it's an old house that's being renovated, perhaps it's not as highly insulated as a new house, being able to show people those changes in terms of operational costs between a well-designed system and a badly designed system, a well-installed system, badly installed system, they're worlds apart. So I think it's really critical that we highlight and show people that through running through different scenarios. And you mentioned there about not having 3, 4, 10 different designers. Again, that's a big part of our offering, is that holistic approach to everything. So whether it's the mechanical, the electrical, all the way from your heating systems through to ventilation systems, and holistically designing a system so that it all works together as one. Now, from I guess my experiences ranges from building and developing, incredible contracting businesses that I exited 2 years ago, through to being a designer as well. I've done 3 housing developments as well, so I know I've made mistakes. I've seen how to do these things better, which is a reason why we set up MyHubb, was really to kind of focus in on the building services element and really build something fantastic for customers. Give them de-risk the process of design and making those choices, so they're getting the right systems in their home.
Mistake. This is what is also important to highlight, because people think that, let's say, you are doing that part of the business for a lot of years, and that you are not doing mistakes, that I'm not doing mistakes. Mistakes are critical part also to learning, but I think we can avoid mistakes by collaboration, because you can make mistake, but if you send your project to 5 different people, probably you will minimize risk of the mistake. How you can see that part? And let's say, from my experience early in my career, I was always, let's say, if I do some mistake, for a few days I cannot stop thinking about this mistake. But recently I tried to catch up. How are you catching up with this kind of a work, with mistakes, learning from mistakes? Because the best what I learned is everything what I'm showing is from mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing is, those 3 developments that I did, I'd made mistakes that I had to rectify on all three of them, on overheating, underheating spaces, not ventilating correctly. So I know I've got that first-hand experience as well that I've had to go and rectify. One area that we're focusing on at MyHubb as well is, so we spoke about peer-to-peer reviews. I think something else that is really important as well is early contractor involvement. So getting contractors involved early, even if the design isn't complete, and getting feedback and looking at it, because there's boots on the ground, there's practical experience there, and there are things that maybe sitting in front of the computer, putting something on CAD and putting a specification together, we didn't quite grasp. So I'd always advocate, whether it's the architect or the homeowner, any form of early contractor involvement is really beneficial to a successful project. Getting them on board early if you can, and building that trust early on and letting them have some feedback and some input on the design, I think is helpful.
And also what you mentioned, this is how I learned a lot of things, just calling some of the installers, because we are collaborating, and this in our industry, what I can see, we talk about this community peer-to-peer learning. We started to be more like friends, and then when you're a friend with someone, you will help your friend. And this is how I can see, and I think you can also see, that they are with boots on the ground, and they understand what this house looks like at the end. As you said, designers, I have a problem sometimes with some designers, not because they don't know, because they don't want to ask. If you are in the office and your full-time job is just being in the office, you don't know if you have some, as you said, you have a lot of conservatory areas here in the UK. You don't know if you can pass through some wall or through some ground. How are you approaching that collaboration? You are taking their review from contractors and you are trying to catch up with all contractors, so from architectural, electrical, plumbing, or you have your team which is dealing with that?
I think, look, you take it on a project by project basis, and for us it really comes down to the level of involvement the professional team and the client want us to have in the project. In an ideal world, we have continuing involvement, so there's certainly during the tender process and then the handover to the contractors, to making sure that they're confident in their ability to be able to deliver the design. They understand the reason we've selected equipment the way we have. I think one of the things that is sometimes a waste of time is indicative pipework, route drawings, especially if it is a building that's being renovated or changed, because it's a waste of time for everyone. You don't get a lot of value out of that unless it is, there's a 3D BIM model and you're doing full clash detection and coordination with all other trades. I think that then it can be beneficial. For us, a lot of times, what we find works really well for contractors is that, not getting too wordy on the specification, being able to set out a clear scope of works in terms of what we expect to see, really great schedules as well, showing what equipment is required, and then schematic drawings, so showing the rooms, in schematic format, clear, easy visual to see. They can pick that up, see, okay, great, I can see what valves, what components, what equipment that we've got, how many rooms it's serving, what manifolds there are there radiators, what's going in. It gives that real quick overview of the whole project, and then just, as I said to you earlier, is about contextualizing that design information in such a way that each one of those actors can pick up on it and quickly understand it. And for the contractors, that's absolutely key, isn't it? To being able to turn the price around quickly, which benefits everyone, including the customer, and it benefits them as well. So they're not wasting hours and building additional cost into the project as a safety net, which we need to help customers avoid falling into that trap.
And you said this schedule is important. I can see, let's say in Croatia and UK, everywhere is the same. Schedule is always tight, because you said, okay, we have 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. After 3 months, we need everything tomorrow. This is what bothers me. But you have a lot of people involved, and it's hard. If you ask me, it's hard to have tight schedules. How are you approaching that part? And also similar question related to this: what are the common mistakes in this, let's say, design, schedule, subcontractors relationship?
Yeah, so I think that overall with that project program that you're looking at, clearly that's going to be the main, led by the main contractor in terms of what that looks like. I think that, and one point that you've mentioned a few times, Mario, is just thinking towards the end about how important commissioning is. So working back from commissioning, like what do we need before we can commissioning? What needs to be done? What do we need others to have done before we reach that point of commissioning, so that we can have that period of time for that to happen? Now, typically we might not be involved at that point of the project, because we've handed over, we've put the design in place, always available to have those conversations. But if there's a competent contractor on site, then generally they're happy to run with the design and then commission the system. But I would always say that working back from the finish of the project is the best way of scoping out length of time in terms of project program. And I think that as well as looking at that project program, I think that, you know, the equipment schedules are really important as well. So being really clear on what equipment is going in each. And for us, we do that a number of ways. So at the entry level of what we deliver, it will be performance based. So no manufacturer recommendations, just what the product has to do. And then moving up a step, we would be more descriptive and prescriptive in terms of what that equipment is. So from what manufacturer, you know, what the model number is, what the additional parts are that's required to make that to work. We would detail that within the equipment sheet as well.
What are the tools that you are using? Because you mentioned a few times, let's say, estimate, data, models. I know you have some models, and I'm talking a lot about oversizing. You said with undersizing and so on. We have weather data, historical data. How are you approaching? You have, what I can understand, you have high analytical background in your offering. So it's not like, okay, we estimate that this house is 10 kilowatt or 5 kilowatt. You have some data. Or how are you approaching that, and which tools are you using in your everyday job?
Yeah, so good question. A huge range.
Yeah.
Lots of tools that we've looked at. But if we concentrate specifically on the engineering, I think mechanical engineering in terms of what we do. So one thing that I've alluded to is our ability to run different scenarios, to look at different models. So we do that through using dynamic simulation modeling. We have our own tool that we've developed ourselves, which dynamically simulates the performance of a building. That looks at occupancy patterns, weather, so we can do it with current weather data, historic weather data, and future weather data as well. We look at the building fabric, so the thermal performance of the building, and then what plant is operating within inside that building. So, you know, is it a heat pump? What's the efficiency of that heat pump? Is there ventilation? How leaky is the building? So all of these different variables we put into our model, along with schedules, timing schedules for plant on and off times. And we create an energy profile for that house over the course of a year with hourly data. So we can see how that building interacts in terms of with the heat source based on outside weather, temperature, occupancy, different running hours of that plant. And that really helps us to understand the sizing of equipment that needs to go in, both from a hot water perspective and from a space heating perspective as well. Now, clearly, if it's a home, we need to look at doing it through standard calculation methodology to fall in line with MCS requirements and everything that you've got to do. But what it allows us to do is get a more accurate vision as to how that house is going to perform, what the total heat loss is likely to be at any given point in time, rather than with the calculation methodology where it is based on -3, -4 outside, worst case scenario coming on from cold start. Reality is that doesn't really happen, does it? You leave your heating running when it's cold. You know, you need to take a more holistic view to how that house is likely to operate and run. And when you do, it helps you not oversize plant, not oversizing heat pump. And as you and I have talked, a lot of new houses now, you see that hot water is actually the big demand. It's not space heating anymore. This is where your expertise come in, because I speak to you and say, I think the hot water demand is bigger. Where should we be going? And we've had several discussions on that.
Yeah, this will be interesting with new builds. I think separate heat pump for hot water could be solution. Could be. Also regarding oversizing and what you mentioned, what we need to understand, we are not understanding, and especially our customers, that we are dealing with static conditions. As you said, you have some recommendations from CIPC, from MCS. You have, okay, we have -3 and this is and that, but we are missing few valid points. Thermal mass of the building, building itself. So it's not like you will have, I don't know, this is bothering me a lot about ventilation heat loss. I speak about this a lot. So you don't have so much air changes per hour. And ventilation heat loss, especially with new builds, when our fabric is improved, our percentage of ventilation heat loss is bigger. And in that way we are hugely oversizing, not only heat pump, but actively, if you oversize heat pump, you are oversizing the pipework, you are oversizing everything else, electrical part, which I forgot to mention, but you need to have high electricity demand if you are doing this. And mechanical ventilation or heat recovery or ventilation itself could play a role, but I cannot see, in my country, I cannot see that it's improving, that people are installing a lot of these ventilation systems. How is in UK, in new builds?
In terms of the uptake of ventilation, I think that, so we spoke about this briefly earlier, didn't we, around the education piece. And I think that asking really good questions to the homeowner or potential, if it's that, an architect is doing a renovation or a new build for a home, I think it's asking is the best place to start asking great questions. Because the moment you ask someone, do you want mechanical ventilation heat recovery?
No.
How much does it cost?
Yeah.
Oh, well, a lot more than intermittent extract fans. Well, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Whereas you go in, you ask a question, are you interested in, improving indoor air quality of your home?
This is important,
Yeah, actually, I'd be interested in finding it. So it's just asking those questions to take customers on a journey to getting to a solution, and then they're more educated and they can make a better decision based on their requirements. Now, cost is always going to play on that, but with the right information, they're able to make an informed decision rather than an on-the-spot, emotional decision. I'm not going to spend.
But cost. What will be the payback period of new kitchen? There is no payback. What is the payback period?
Happiness.
Yes. If you want new car, you want to buy a new Tesla. What is the payback period? I want new car. So this is what we need to put in the equation. This is what you mentioned regarding good questions, and you mentioned education. So let's say we are now starting to develop a platform, educational platform, mostly for engineers, installers, but I think we will go into direction also to designers, to homeowners. What will you need, or from your experience, what will architects, what they need, what electrical designers need in terms of our industry, from heating part? What could we do from educational point of view to introduce all of this, what is really huge? But how to approach and how to not overwhelm them. So they don't need to know details about ventilation heat loss, but to mention, okay, this and that.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? And I think that it comes down to
$1 million question.
Yeah, $1 million question. Simplicity, isn't it? Yeah. It's being simple with the design, but making it interesting and relevant to what their job is and what they do. And certainly thinking about that education piece, one thing that we've learned is really important for us is understanding that architects are our route to the customer. Architects won't typically want to engage in terms of the contract with us. They want us to engage with the client or the homeowner with that contract. So we essentially use architects as the conduit to get to the client. Now, we have to present a certain type of information which appeals to architects as to why they'd want to work with us or recommend us. We also need to bear in mind that we need to produce a set of marketing content for the homeowners as well, and it's very different. With architects, we're telling them, or we're not telling them, we're showing them, why working with us would be a great thing, how it relieves pressure, makes the design better, less questions for them, with a little bit of technical around. You probably want to know a bit about heat pumps. Well, here's some information about heat pumps that we can share with you and help. Whereas the homeowners, the stuff that they want to know is like, well, how much does it cost? What's the running cost likely to be? How much carbon am I going to save? What are the benefits to me of spending extra money on these systems that you're suggesting? So again, two types of education for us is homeowner and architect, and different messaging.
And what will be, let's say, the main thing for me is that we need to, what I can hear from your words, that we need to be simple also from our point of view. So we have also paradox of knowledge. We know a lot of things and we want everyone to know all of this, but we need, what I can hear, we need to understand what they need. As Steve Jobs also said, people, they don't know they need iPod. They want 1,000 songs in the pocket. And you have 1,000 songs in the pocket, not, you have 10 gigabytes. What is 10 gigabytes? So this is, I think this will be not hard, but challenging to approach. And how can you see this, let's say, our industry? Because we didn't even touch of thermal storage, phase change materials, time of use tariffs, which we don't have in Croatia, but the UK has, Europe is going into that direction. All of these parts, let's say, design is really important, but at some point, if you have extra electricity for zero cost,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you drive your heat pump on 70 degrees. But how can you see this, let's say, solution, this software solution approach? Because end user, they don't want to take care, oh, what is the time of use tariff now? They want system to work for them. How can you see this?
I think there's technology out there by manufacturers that does some of this stuff. And I think it's important to understand and see it actually working rather than believe manufacturers in terms of what's out there. I think that due diligence, certainly from our point of view as design engineers, but also point of view from installers as well, is just seeing it in action, understanding that it does deliver that. Because as we spoke about before, we've got maintenance and looking after the customer after that project is completed, and you want your customer to speak to you once a year when you go and maintain the system, not every 2 weeks because there's something that's not working. So I think that's really important. That technology is going to improve, isn't it, over the foreseeable. It's only going to get better. There's more AI, technology going into a lot of these products. It's a huge market, isn't it? The controls and the integration with, as you said, with time of use tariffs. Suddenly you've got the energy providers that are interested in this as well, in terms of how it's going to be utilized. So we got another entity coming in to the mix in terms of improving that. So it's not just the control manufacturers and the installers. It's going to be energy companies looking at it.
We'll be back in a conversation in a few seconds. Just one reminder: we launched a new online educational platform, Heat Pump Bootcamp. You can learn at your own pace on your PC, mobile phone, or tablet. You will find a lot of interesting videos, assessments, interaction and quizzes. Feel free to reach out and to check. Link is in the description below. And what is your view? Because I can see that energy providers are more flexible in that part of the business than heating. We are just talking, what are the pipes? We are working on heating side, but energy providers, they understand that solution and software and all of this together is important. This is my view. What I can see, that these providers are much faster in entering the market and in solving the things. Because you mentioned you have controls, you have this and that, but a lot of these things are not working quite good with heat pumps. A lot of on-off controls in your business or in electrical engineering. A lot of, let's say, it's not suitable for modern world. How can you see the role of energy providers versus traditional heating companies or heating providers?
Look, that's a really good question, isn't there? And there's a lot there because they're coming at it from two completely different worlds. Angles, two different worlds. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves. You got the likes of Octopus that have done quite a lot over the last. just an incredible, fantastic job for the industry. Clearly, they've got their own heat pump. They've got control over those tariffs and how they can be utilised. I think that there's always going to be a place for independent installers, because the likes of Octopus, Ovo, any of the others that are out there doing those great things with heating systems and energy, they can't capture the whole market. It's impossible, because some homes are too complex, too difficult. They don't fit within the model, and that's certainly true of Octopus at the moment. There's certain homes that they're not interested in being involved with, right, from what I hear anecdotally. So we need heating engineers that can go in and offer solutions, and I think that's one area where we can certainly come in, because we can model time of use tariffs and be able to show, well, if the energy price drops by however much during these hours, this is what's likely to happen. We can demonstrate what charging a battery would do during those hours, how using that battery using certain time periods would help as well. So I think being able to model that is a great way of helping installers market their solution as well. So if they're going to a customer is using services like ours to be able to demonstrate why their holistic solution of not just the heating system but battery and PV could really benefit a customer. So that's certainly one area that we're looking at, is how we can engage with engineers, contracting engineers now to, with our services, to be able to help them sell more and also design better systems, right? Using our expertise, something that they probably don't have the time to do because they're busy installing.
On tools,
yeah, absolutely, which is so important.
You went into direction here. We are near the end. What will be your advice to installers? Because you are involved in both sides, but from design point of view, what they need to know or what they need to understand when they are dealing with customers from design point of view. So you have architects, mechanical, electrical. What they need to understand? What are the few key points? What they need to understand when approaching some house where they will work?
I think that's a good question, because you look back historically, certainly in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same in Croatia, that there's always been a big disconnect between installers and designers.
Yes, correct.
And a big part for me is bridging that gap, making the knowledge that we create more accessible and more relevant to the installers is so important, because if we're going to succeed in decarbonisation and better quality heating, more efficient, we need there's a skill shortage, and we need all the engineers we can get, both on design side and the installation side. And for it to really work, we need them talking, and we need to make sure the design engineers in the office have a huge appreciation for all the hard work that installers do and all the crap that they put up with on a daily basis that you don't have to when you're sitting in front of a computer. And I think that from an installer's point of view, understanding certainly, design engineers with the right mentality that they are trying to just design an efficient system. And as we discussed before, that early contractor engagement is important. So getting the two sides talking as soon as possible, that's the key to unlocking it and delivering great designs and bridging that gap between design and installation. And
to understand that design is not a cost. You're actually reducing your cost by...
We regularly show customers how by employing us, we've saved them a lot of money, especially if they've gone out and already got some preconceived ideas, or got quotes already. And we go, hang on a minute, have you thought of these three things? Okay, well, we've just saved you double our fee already, just through that one thing.
Just by asking a right question.
Yeah, asking better quality questions.
At the end, what will be your message to our listeners? A lot of engineers, a lot of manufacturers are listening. What would be your, let's say, key point regarding our industry?
I think that it's really tough out there. As we said, there's a skill shortage. I think that my message for everyone out there really is keep doing what you're doing, keep moving forward, keep collaborating, keep working with people like you. Fantastic job. And keep improving and learning, and certainly things like Installer Show, a great place to go and do that and meet people. So I would say meet more people, speak to more people, even if they're design engineers, not just installers as well.
This is what people talk to me, how you know this, because I'm in daily contact with a lot of people and it's just numbers. You're connected with a lot of people, and by collaboration, by community, by all of these things, I think we could improve. James, thank you very much. It was very good for me to have you here, and I like your country. Maybe I need to think to come more often here.
Definitely. It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
Thanks.
Marian.
And maybe next time you need to come to Croatia and
absolutely
to our coast. Thank you everyone for watching this podcast. This is part of our UK series, where we are touching a lot of different things with manufacturers, with designers, with everyone from our industry. Check other videos on our channel and check our new educational platform, and see you